Good afternoon. I am your host, Kat Katibi, and this is my channel. And thank you for finding me on the internet. Today, I wanted to do another quick, short episode on how to. Hold on, that was weird. Okay, so I heard like a crazy echo. So let me start all over. Me, me. Hmm. Hold on one second, guys. Okay, I think there's a delay, so I'm going to turn my volume off. Because maybe it's better quality and there's a delay. I think I hit something that does that. So anyways, I'm not gonna hear myself. Hopefully everything turns out well. If not, whatever. All right, so today's episode is how to be grateful and happy by making yourself miserable. It's a very great happiness hack, gratefulness hack that I found in life. Whenever things get stressful, you're frustrated, anything going wrong, you can always do this trick and get yourself right back to where you're grateful and happy again. I mean, unless things are really bad, but generally they're not. Generally, it's in our head. Things are happening in our heads and we're like blowing them out of proportion and we're going a little bit nuts and we just need a reality check. So, that being said, I think this is a great tip that everyone should have. Okay, let's go back to it. I mean, ugh, I'm terrible at live. All right, guys, I'm terrible. I'm going to get better. That's why I'm doing them almost every day. All right, so this is what I do. Let's say this is an example. Let's say you go out with your friends, you come home. This is for girls. You go out with your friends, you come home. The house is a mess. The kids are a mess. Nothing is done. It's chaos and you're stressed out because now you have to clean up everything or do all these things that didn't get done that supposedly were supposed to get done while you were gone, right? So you could, like most people, catastrophize and say, this is terrible. This is the worst thing ever. Nobody ever helps me, and blah, 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 blah. And you can go down a spiral, which women like to do. And we do pretty much, especially before our periods, when we're the most emotional and hormonal and sensitive to these things. So instead of doing that, take a moment, take a breath, go sit by yourself and think about all the things that you didn't have that you now have. So for me, if I'm overwhelmed with mess, everything's a mess, everything is everywhere. I can't keep up after these people. They're animals. I'm going around crazy. I always like to think, okay, well, there was a time where I didn't have a good family. I didn't have anyone to like come home to or whatever like that. Or it was chaos in my home, like more like yelling and screaming type chaos. Now we have maybe things everywhere, which I think is a pretty good trade off. So I think about that and I remind myself of all the things I have that I always wanted to have that I never even thought I was capable of having ever. One of the things was I always thought because I grew up in a single parent household that I wouldn't get married. And I thought this because I was like, well, what do I know about it? Obviously, I wasn't shown an example. So who do I think I am to be able to go out there and make it work? But I was able to. And that is crazy, lucky, and wonderful. And I'm very grateful for that. Another thing is, I have a lot of stuff to clean, but it's a lot of stuff that's nice and that we work really hard to get. And yeah, it would be nice if it was always clean, but I mean, at least we have the stuff. So I think about that. And especially this comes in handy, ladies, when your husband is snoring at night and you want to smother him with a pillow. It's always nice to remember that all the good things he does for you in your life and all the things that you wouldn't have if it weren't for him. And that keeps you from smothering him in his sleep. And I tell him this all the time. And he's very grateful that I have this technique but I mean, yeah, that's all I want to say today, because a lot of people get really frustrated and they want to take it out on everyone else. And I had a girlfriend that she was going through some things with her husband because he wasn't cleaning up. He wasn't doing a lot of stuff, and she'd only dated him and whatever, so she didn't know what else was out there. So she had this idea that there's something better out there. There's something really, different. There's guys out there that are going to clean and be good dads and blah blah blah, and I'm sure I could find another guy. So what I did to make her grateful and happy, which is, you can take it for what it is. Maybe you're like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You shouldn't have done that. That doesn't make any sense, blah, blah, blah. But it worked, so I'm going to say it anyways. So I would show her episodes of like Fresh and Fit, or like the dating stuff, the dating podcast, the ones I'm talking about. So that would terrify her. She's like, what? People are like this now? They're insane. And I'm like, yeah, that's the dating market. So you sure you're going to be like so mad over little things that don't really matter? Yeah, they're messy, but like you can try to like work on that instead of just catastrophizing and thinking you can do better elsewhere, which is what a lot of us do. We think, instead of let's fix this, let's just start all over again. Let's just do a clean slate and we'll do better next time. But you find that a lot of people, they'll just repeat the cycle over and over and over again. And a lot of friends that I know, they'll tell me that they're in the same cycle. They'll be like, I dated this girl, everything was great. And then around the 6-month mark, she started having these complaints. So got rid of her, got a new girl. And then again, around the 6-month mark, started having the same complaints as the other girl. So I got another girl. And I'm like, you got to stop. It's not always the other person. I'm not saying if they're physically abusive or something crazy. I'm just saying normal things like a lot of us are, especially girls, get a little OCD about stuff. Why is this out of place? What's going on over here? Oh my gosh, this is stressing me out. And because we get physically stressed and cortisol jumps up when we see mess, disorder, chaos, or if there's any sort of issues, financial problems, whatever, we start going into like, we're just completely useless. We're just a mess, and we just start lashing out. And knowing this, we need to have ways to cope. We need to have ways that we can go and calm ourselves down and recalibrate by remembering everything that we didn't have before that we now have that should be making us happy. And it does work, guys. I need you to think about it. I do this with my girlfriends. They'll call me to vent about their kid. My kid did this and this and this and this. And I'm like, remember when you were having trouble trying to have a kid? And remember how like happy you were when you finally got her? And remember this picture you sent me when she was first born, stuff like that. Like, I know it's hard sometimes and you want to, but you wanted this. There was a moment in time where you're like, this is all I want. And you need to go back there sometimes. Another thing is, when my daughter would leave the house when she was little, she would scream. There was nothing you can do. There was no calming her down. I would just not be able to like do anything about it. Nobody would. It was a mess. And she would scream as soon as we went into a restaurant, just open her mouth, scream. And then she would bang her head on the table. And the second you took her out of the place, she was giggling and happy, like she got what she wanted. And we tried all the things they told us. Okay, you have to take her outside of the place and tell her she has to be good and blah, 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 and then bring her back. That didn't work. It didn't work. She's very stubborn and she doesn't do what she doesn't want to do. And she did not want to be in restaurants. That was not her thing. So I could go, oh, I have this terrible child. This is like, oh, and spiral out of control. Or I can go, she doesn't like this going to restaurant things. I'm sure there are things I wish I could not have done when I was a kid. And is it really that bad? It's just going to be a little bit. And now I can take her anywhere. She loves restaurants. She loves everything. It's just for a few years she wanted to kind of be in the house, calm. She didn't like the whole sit down in a chair, be quiet. with a bunch of strangers around at that time when she was really little. She didn't like that. And I could have made myself crazy trying to get her to do something or feeling bad that I was in the situation with a kid that didn't like this stuff when my friends had kids that they could take places, and I can make myself jealous and crazy. I was like, "Oh, I wish I could do that," blah blah blah. But you know what? Now she does everything. It's super fun. And another thing I would do is I would look at her cute little baby talking videos that I had on my phone every time like she was screaming and I took a break in the other room. I would look at those videos and then I would be like, yeah, okay. She's a little crazy, but she's great. And then I would feel better and calm. Same thing with my husband when he's like annoying or whatever. I'll just think of all the things that he did that were really sweet, and I'll be like, you know what? Let him play video games an extra hour. It's fine. I'll be okay. And just things like that. So that is all I have for today. A really short episode. And I hope you all are grateful and happy for everything you have and have a great week.